Hi everyone! So I thought that I would dive in a little further into the no-buy topic. As many of you probably know, I am currently on my second no-buy year. I've been doing a no-buy now for about 14 months or so, and it's been very successful for me, but I get asked all of the time, would a no-buy be right for me? What about a low buy? Do you have any tips? Do you have any tricks? You know, give me some guidance. The thing is, only you can decide if a no-buy or a low buy is right for you. The duration of time, whether it's a month, 6 months, a year, more, that's all you. Nobody, not a single person can tell you what is actually going to work appropriately for you. But hopefully some of the stuff that I've talked about will give you a little bit of an idea from my perspective and what I've gone through about whether or not it would be something that would work for you or something that you're even willing to consider working for you, because it really isn't for everybody. So I thought that I would spend a little time talking about my journey a little bit. I've talked about this in other videos as well. I have plenty of no-buy videos up on my channel if you are interested in more on this topic. But why did I initially decide to start my no-buy? So I have tried and I have failed no-buys, low-buys, and beauty budgets before. It was never really something I was able to stick with because I didn't really want to do it. I didn't feel like I really had to do it. As far as I was concerned, I had money, I had space. What did it matter if I kept bringing new things in? I just kept doing all these little experiments because truthfully, I thought that that's what people on YouTube wanted to see me do. And that was the wrong thing to do. But ultimately, it did lead me to where I am now, and I'm very grateful for that. I just wish I hadn't taken so many detours along the way. So it was in the fall of 2018 when I officially announced that I was doing a no-buy year. I was really scared. I built in a lot of buffers for myself at the time, and I fully expected that I was going to fail. And at that time, my sole reason for doing a no-buy was just to decrease the amount of product that I had. Now, I was purchasing makeup for a lot of reasons, an excessive amount of makeup. My unhappiness was probably the number one. I actually did a whole video about this where I talk about emotions and the connections and why I was purchasing and overspending, and I will link that either down below or up in the cards if you are interested in a little bit more on that perspective. But basically, in general, I was over-consuming as a way to just push those feelings aside. I would temporarily be incredibly happy over those purchases, but it was very, very temporary. This was not something that was going to have longevity. This was stuff sometimes that I regretted almost immediately after receiving the product. But it was that temporary happiness, and I kept chasing that high, so I kept purchasing things. There was a point where I was expecting an order almost every single day because I was ordering so often and because it was that thing that I was looking forward to. And then things changed, and my no-buy took on a completely different meaning, and it basically took on a life of its own. I left a relationship that was suffocating me. I sold my house that I had lived in for a few years. I moved back in with my parents. It was very tough. I lived there for like 10 months. Finally, I'm in my own place now, but it was definitely a very difficult time. And all that was going on, I was dealing with family illness. This is something I've talked about before, but my father has cancer that's come back, and that was really difficult as well, just a personal thing. There was a lot of struggles. There was a lot of difficult things going on in my life, and I really had to find ways to cope with that didn't involve buying things, and especially not buying makeup. I am a person who deals with mental illness. I did go through a pretty dark time. I don't want to dwell too much on that here. I don't feel like it's the appropriate place, but just know if you are struggling, you are not alone, and seeking help is a very personal thing, and your methods, whatever you choose to do, is very personal to you, and I don't want to talk about my personal stuff in regards to that just because I feel like it's a slippery slope. But I did have quite a bit of a dark time during a few of those months, like the winter especially, about a year ago. It was very, very difficult. I was going through a lot of difficult things. I had some very terrible personal things happen. I had some friendships fall apart. I was used by people. I was abused by people. It was fairly traumatic, and I stayed away from makeup quite a bit. I definitely wasn't using makeup the way I used to. You might have noticed I pulled away from my YouTube channel as well. Part of that was necessity. I was getting threats coming from people involving my YouTube channel. It was a very scary time for me, and I didn't have the same pull for purchasing makeup, so that definitely helped a little bit. And it was almost necessary in a way. I felt like I kind of like went into a cocoon almost for a few months. But then I emerged and I had a wonderful spring. I had probably the best summer I've had in such a long time. So many things happened. I went on 2 trips, both of which really changed my life. One of them involved me getting close with somebody who I am now in a relationship with, and I just completely fell in love with, and I'm very, very happy about that. I ended up buying a car, I got my new apartment, you know, things started falling in place, but it definitely took a long time to get to where I am now. And looking back, I'm surprised I made it through some of the things that I did, but I definitely came out so much stronger. I do credit a lot of my happiness right now and the positive feelings to being able to keep up with my no-buy. There's a song lyric that I keep going back to that's basically, when your heart is full, you need much less. And I feel that's very accurate for me as a person. I feel like I'm always trying to find something to bring me happiness if I'm not actually internally happy, and I just am happy. So that's been something that's been really beneficial for me, just with what my triggers were for buying makeup. That has made one of the biggest differences. I still have too much stuff, and I'm still not sure what I want my makeup collection to look like, but I'm more aware now and I'm more conscious now. Yes, I've made so many mistakes, but I've also been so very fortunate. Now, financially, I'm in a very tough spot, and my no-buy has really been forced. I have to be very conscious in many areas of my life. So it's not just makeup. I can't be buying clothes, I can't be buying accessories, I can't be splurging on basically anything that's not a necessity. Now, there's a good chance my financial situation will change in the future. Definitely there's a light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. I know when I will see costs go down in terms of childcare, in terms of car payment, in terms of insurance rates, you know, all those things. I can see when it will all go down. It's just eventual. It's not going to be in the next year probably, but it's going to be in the next couple of years. My financial situation will improve, assuming no other factors change. And I really want to keep going the way that I'm going though. I don't want to go back to those old habits. I'm very conscious of it now, and I'm making sure that I don't slip back into those bad habits that I had before, and I want to keep that going regardless of my financial situation. That's just my biggest reason right now. It's because I absolutely cannot spend unnecessary money, but even if I could at some point, assuming I will again have disposable income, I don't want to spend it the way that I used to. So, do you want to do a no-buy? I assume you clicked on this, you're watching this because you're at least a little bit curious, and you've probably thought at least once or twice if this was something you could possibly do. So there are a lot of factors to consider. If you find yourself overwhelmed by the sheer amount of product that you have, if your financial situation has changed or is going to, perhaps you need to save for a big life event. Those are all things to consider if you're thinking about doing a no-buy. I know it's difficult to admit the financial aspect sometimes. I definitely find myself embarrassed sometimes because I feel like, man, I should be able to just buy the things I want to buy. I shouldn't have to save for these little things. I shouldn't have to be so concerned. It's because I wasn't used to it. And I don't know, sometimes I feel like it really just is embarrassing to admit that you just don't have a lot of money or you don't have disposable income, but that's just the truth, and that's the reality for a lot of people. So don't feel bad about it if that happens to be your reasons for a no-buy. it is a very legitimate reason, and it's definitely something that you can really work on. I've been working on reframing my sadness. I call it sad. It's not really sadness, but just, you know, sometimes I feel a little bit wistful if I see something, and not just necessarily makeup related, but other things where I'm like, oh, I wish I could buy that. I wish I could buy that. You know, like in another life, I could have bought it. And I'm just trying to reframe everything and to be like, okay, instead of focusing on the things that I don't have, the things that I can't afford, what about what I do have? What about the things that I can be very grateful for that I already have in my home? Everybody's story is going to be different, and every possible no-buy, low-buy budget combination of things is going to be different depending on your situation. It's impossible to say exactly what it is for you because it might be financial, it might be the amount of product, it might be a combination of all of those things. Maybe you're trying to save for a trip, maybe you're trying to save to buy a house, or so many different things. So it's impossible to say exactly what's going to work for you, but once you identify those reasons or what your goals are, then you'll really have a better idea about whether or not this is something good for you. I would also say that this is a lifestyle change. For me, it's definitely a lifestyle change that I want to keep going. I would recommend looking at it as such and not something temporary. Otherwise, you might erase all of your positive progress. So if you decide you're going to do a no buy for 1 month, that's fantastic, set your goals. But if after that 1 month you go out and buy all those things that you would have bought anyway that month before, you really didn't accomplish anything. That's just my 2 cents. So I would also say call it what you want. Set your own guidelines and don't be afraid to be flexible. Rules for projects like these are completely arbitrary. What works for somebody might not work for somebody else, and that's fine. There are no actual rules you have to follow. You can set whatever you want. What matters is what you get out of it. You could be on a replacement only no buy. You could have a monthly budget or a yearly budget. You could do what I've seen some people do, which is say for every 3 products out, they bring 1 new product in. People have different things that work for them. There's really no magic trick. There's no quick fix. You really have to put in the time and the effort to make this work for you and also be rewarding. Now for me, I'm firmly calling mine a no buy. I know some people don't like that, but that's what I'm sticking with. It's a combination basically of a replacement only no buy, kind of a low buy, and a beauty budget, but I'm sticking with no buy just language wise. It's what works the best for me, because for me, a low buy, I can definitely see myself making some excuses. If it was a replacement only no buy, I would still make excuses. Oh, well, I finished this one thing, let me buy another that I don't actually need, but I can justify it to myself using this language that I set up for myself. So for me, no buy means I'm not buying anything that's not necessary. That's how I'm defining it for myself. I'm planning to work through as much product as I can. I'm hoping to declutter some things through some various projects. I'm hoping to stretch the life of products as much as I possibly can. That's not to say that I'm not going to ask for like gift cards to the drugstore or Sephora for my birthday or whatever, because definitely that will help me moving forward, but it's not to purchase kind of the unnecessary things. It's to help me with my budgeting, with my money issue. And I'm trying to find that balance between the everyday makeup that I use and then some of the fun extra things I like to have for filming. So like, I don't wear false lashes all the time in real life, very rarely, but I love wearing them on camera, so I need to have like a little bit of extra wiggle room in there for like hobby money. So stuff for like filming needs and makeup for that, the false lashes, the lash glue, so that there's like a little bit of wiggle room in there, but it's also what I consider hobby money because this is my one true hobby. And all of this will probably continue to change and grow with me as it has since I started it in 2018. So my best advice in that regard would be patient with yourself. Change is never easy. You may make a mistake or 2 or 20. It's okay. One of my favorite quotations that I want to share with you guys is attributed to Samuel Beckett, and it's ever tried, ever failed. No matter. Try again, fail better. I think that really applies to a situation like this, where it doesn't matter how many times you fail, pick yourself back up, keep trying. If you fail, just fail better next time. So you fall for the sales, so what? So you make a couple of unnecessary purchases, so what? pull yourself together, pick yourself back up, and move forward. You never have to feel like you're stuck. Never, because you're not. You can always change the road you're on. Oh God, I just quoted Led Zeppelin, but it's true. You can always change the road you're on. You are never stuck. And it doesn't have to wait until a specific day. Not until after you make this purchase or that purchase, or after this order arrives, or after your birthday, or after, no. Start now. Anyway, if you watched this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope maybe you learned something from this, or at least found it a little bit interesting. If you are thinking about doing a no buy, low buy budget, whatever, I'm very proud of you and I'm with you. I'm supporting you. You've got me on your side. And if I can be of any extra help, please don't hesitate to reach out. I can be reached by email as well if you don't feel like leaving a public comment. But I'm here for you, and I would like to support you every step of the way, just like you have been supporting me through my journey. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how we all grow, because I think this has definitely been a lot of growth and a lot of learning for a lot of us here. And I think that there's nowhere to go but up. So anyway, thank you once again. I hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I hope we get a chance to chat soon. Bye for now.